Hey, Burned In friends, you are listening to the Burned In Teacher Podcast, and this is episode number 4. And I'm so excited to share with you so many things about Burned In Teacher today. I'm going solo after sharing with you episodes of interviews from the happiness coach named Kim Strobel. That was yesterday. And also a fellow innovator and friend of mine, Jacqueline Whiting, who was our first Burned In interview on the podcast. For those of you who have been listening all week, and if you've left a review or a rating, thank you so much for your generosity and your honesty. Right now, we are at 5 out of 5 stars, and I want to read to you a couple of the reviews that people have left. It just makes me so happy that people are feeling like Burned In Teacher is reaching our mission. Drama Ticat said, "A must listen. I really appreciated her honest storytelling. I can't wait for the next episode to come out. All teachers need to be tuned into this." Adnan EdTech says, "Great for teachers. Amber has such a great presence and is so committed to helping teachers. I love the way she is approaching this podcast and am looking forward to see it grow." Gretchen Schultek, who is Gretchen Bridgers from the Always a Lesson podcast and a future guest on the show, says, "Not every educator's journey is a smooth one. In reality, most teachers experience seasons that push them to wanting to give up their passion in the profession. But the truths and sense of community Amber brings via this podcast is essential in overcoming tough seasons so that teachers can fulfill their calling as a world-class educator. Excellent content and encouraging host. A must listen for all." Thank you so much for your reviews. It means the world to me. Now, let's get episode 4 started, shall we? Welcome to the Burned In Teacher Podcast. I'm Amber Harper, and the educators on this podcast are brave enough to share their stories of burnout with the world. On BIT, we get real, we get honest, and we take action. Action against the burnout with stories from burned out teachers, advice from experts, and actionable steps you can take today to beat the burnout and become a happier, more fulfilled human being. Let's get started. Hey, Burned In teachers, welcome to the Burned In Teacher Podcast. 1 part burnout and all other parts action, inspiration, and support for teachers dealing with burnout. Today is the final episode in this 5-day launch series of the Burned In Teacher Podcast. And I have to tell you, I have been dreaming of doing this for years, and it's literally been a dream come true. So if you've listened to all 5 episodes, including today, thank you so much. If you'd enjoyed any of these 5 episodes that you've listened to, and they have encouraged you to make changes, take action, or to inspire somebody else, please consider leaving a review and giving me a 5-star rating. It makes it easier for other teachers in the future to be able to find the Burned In Teacher Podcast. So today is all about, how do I get burned in? What does burned in even mean? I've had a lot of people ask me that question, and I've written some blog posts about it, and I will definitely link those into the show notes on the Burned In Teacher website. But burned in is actually an acronym, and it didn't start out that way. But one day I was driving on my way to work, and I thought to myself, what if burned in was an acronym? What if it stood for steps that teachers could take to actually start taking control? So that's what it did. It turned into burned in, standing for 8 steps to get yourself from burnout to burn in. So I'm going to explain in this episode today what those steps actually mean. Before I do that, though, I want to introduce you to the Burned In Teacher Method, 8 steps to take control and beat burnout starting now. It's an action guide that I created, a free action guide to better student behavior, better relationships with families and administrators, and better time management. In this guide, I actually go through the 8 steps of the Burned In method and sort of mix it up with strategies that you can use to build better relationships with your people, as I call them. You choose who it is that you want to use these strategies on. It could even be yourself. And you work through these rocks, pebbles, and sand. And if you've never heard of that theory of priorities, then I strongly suggest that you jump on over to www.burnedinteacher.com, scroll down a little bit when you get to the homepage and sign up to receive this free action guide today. You'll also be signed up to receive monthly newsletters, as well as updates and little tidbits that are going to start coming into your mailbox within the next few weeks. Get it? Tidbit, like burned in teacher? I thought it was cute. Anyway, so back to the acronym of burned in. So let's start with B. B is all about begin where you are, really assessing your current reality and where it is that you are either physically, emotionally, mentally. It's really just evaluating your current situation. The next letter is U. U stands for understand. It could be a couple of things. It could be understand you, understand your administrator, understand why you're so sad. R stands for reflect on your challenges. What's holding you back from being your best self, your best teacher, your best parent, your best spouse? What are the biggest challenges that you are finding in holding you back from taking your next best step? The next step in burned in is N, nurture your strengths. We all have them. Some of them have been hidden and had clutter put on top of them over the last few years. But we all have strengths. It took me a long time to find that my strengths were actually masked as problems. They got me in trouble a lot, speaking up, bringing up issues that I felt needed to be solved, trying to take action. Those things led me to burned in teacher because I realized that those are my biggest strengths and I need to do what I can to get those out there in the world. So find your strengths. Think of what you used to be really good at. How can you be good at that thing again? Next is E, extend your reach. This is one of my favorites. Extending your reach is actually taking that action by asking how, or asking why, or asking when. It's reaching out to your people, anybody that you think can help you. For you listening to this podcast, if you haven't joined our Facebook group with over 100, now 130 educators, come to us and extend your reach there if you don't feel like you can extend it to anybody else. Next is D, determine your goals. This is where after you've gone through evaluating where you are and understanding yourself and realizing your challenges and then your strengths and starting to ask questions to people and voice your struggles, this is where you're saying, okay, this is my goal. This is what I want for myself. This is what I want for my students. This is what I want out of my career. This is what I need in my life. And then you go for it. Now you're really going to initiate change. That's what I stands for, initiate. This is where you take serious action to reach those goals that you've determined for yourself. This is such an exciting time in the entire method because this is where you begin to see tiny steps of progress towards your goals. And this is where you really start to see change happen. The last one is N. N stands for never settle. And I actually like to say never, ever, ever, ever settle. Don't ever settle for going back to that place that you were in. And if you do, start the method all over again. These 8 steps are things that I went through without even realizing it to pull myself out of the burnout, realize my full potential, and take action in helping other people to reach theirs. Listen, I'm not a therapist. I can't diagnose things, and I certainly can't prescribe things, but I know what burnout looks like. I know what it feels like. I know what it sounds like. And I never, ever want anyone to feel the way that I felt for years when I allowed myself to be victimized by my current reality. It's time for you to say enough is enough. It's time for you to take action. It's time for you to burn in. If you've been a reader of the Burned In Teacher blog for the last couple of years, you may notice a couple of fluid changes that are going to happen within the site, starting actually this week. Each Monday, whenever there is a new podcast, a new interview, a new guest, or if there's a topic that I'm discussing solo like I am today, you're going to notice that there is going to be a blog post about that topic, something that I pull from the interview that I want to share with you in more detail in a written post. Also, if you're a member of the Burned In Teacher Facebook group, we will be discussing that topic, that idea, those key takeaways and tips that came from that interview that week will be discussed within the group every Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time in Burned In Teacher Live, or BIT Live. It used to be Live for 5, but then I realized there wasn't really a way to have a deep discussion within 5 minutes. I promise, though, it will never be longer than 15. This is a time for you to post your comments, questions, get engaged with the other members, and really start to get into the Burned In Teacher mindset. I hope to see you in there as soon as possible. But don't wait until Wednesdays to post comments and questions about the topic. If you had a big win during the week at school, or something happened that threw a curveball into your burned in mindset, come into the group and post a question. Vent to us. And make sure that you also ask for solutions. I also wrote a post once about how there's a difference between asking for a shoulder to cry on and asking for a solution to your problem. Make sure that you come into the Burned In Teacher group with an attitude of seeking solutions, seeking support, and taking action. All right, Burned In Teachers, that's all I have for you today. I hope you now have a better understanding of what Burned In Teacher stands for, how you can get burned in, and how you can actually extend your reach into our Facebook group and community. As always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for giving a rating and a review. And most of all, thank you so much for taking steps to become a Burned In Teacher. Take a deep breath. You are in control. Burn on.